fucks I love Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, there is no better way to open the video for this movie. Just, oh, Jesus, this was freaking amazing. And I know, a lot of people have been praising the shit out of this movie, and unfortunately, it kind of underperformed on its opening weekend. Oh no, it's still open #1, but compared to like Venom and like Black Panther and Infinity War, and you can make all the arguments you want for why it's not going to be as big as those movies, but god damn it, this film really should make a ton of money, and it deserves it, because I'm just gonna head and say this. This is not just the best comic book movie of the year. I think this is hands down the best Spider-Man movie ever made, and I think this is probably the best movie of the year for me. I absolutely love this film from beginning to finish, and I really didn't think I would. I remember back when Spider-Man got teamed up with the rest of the MCU. This was actually announced then. It was just sort of like, oh, an animated Miles Morales movie. And it kind of sort of felt like Sony was going to be throwing a bone to the Miles Morales fans more than anything else. But then I see the first trailer, and visually this film looked absolutely amazing. Like, I didn't even necessarily get what they were going for at first, just based on that first teaser, but I'm like, I don't necessarily get this, but I'm into it. But I was still like, oh, it's the story, like, they're gonna screw it up, they're gonna make it a dumb for kids movie, it's not gonna be good, they'll fail, they won't get into some of the serious stuff that people love about Miles Morales. Then I see this movie, and I'm like, no, they go there. And that's something I really love about this movie. Make no mistake, this is called Into the Spider-Verse. It's got like 6 different Spider-Men in it. This is Miles' movie. And I super appreciated that, because when I did see that title, Into the Spider-Verse, one thing I thought is, oh, it's more of an ensemble. It's not really his movie. It's going to be a bunch of crazy stuff happening. Oh, there's crazy stuff, but it is always told through this kid's perspective. And they do such an amazing job of setting it up at the beginning. This movie's actually a bit of a slow burn. Yeah, it clocks in at a little less than 2 hours, but somehow they really make you feel and learn everything about this character, and you never feel that time go by. Like, the movie opens and you're getting his just day-to-day life, you get introduced to his parents, you see their apartment, you see him getting ready for school, you see all this stuff, and it's done in this way that feels very real. And the way people talk in this movie feels very real. Sony has a history of making some of the most god-awful kids movies in recent memories, and part of the problem is always that everything feels like it's filling a checkbox. And when I saw that Avi Arad and Amy Pascal were putting their names a lot on this movie, I got really worried. That's what I was expecting. But fortunately, Phil Lord and Chris Miller really infuse a lot of heart and a lot of love into this movie. And you see that in that first few minutes. You see how Miles interacts with his mom, with his dad, how he gets ready for school, how he gets to school. All this has this very real, relatable feel to it. And I think a lot of kids really will take to Miles. For a long time now, this has become one of those characters who people have just demanded needs to be on the big screen and needs to be represented to the point where they're like, fuck Peter Parker, we want Miles. And remember, Miles was only made in what, 2011, 2012? He's not a very old character at all. So to see such an outpouring for him to really become mainstream is very unique, as it did take about 10-15 years for characters like Deadpool and Harley Quinn to get the huge following they have today. So that's incredible on its own, but they really make him feel like a kid, and they really make you understand what he's going through, and he talks like how kids talk, and he acts like how kids act, and he goes around and sort of interacts with people in a way that a 15-year-old kid really would. It's such a very honest portrayal, and the acting is really good as well. Whole cast all around is great. I think my favorite of the whole cast has to be I forget his name, I'll put it here, but the guy playing Spider-Ham really stole the show for me. A lot of people say it's Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. He's fantastic too, but for me, Spider-Ham kind of took it, especially when he gets his big fight scene at the end. I didn't see it coming, and I loved it. But as far as the main cast goes, they're kind of getting overshadowed by Nicolas Cage, which, let's be real here, we should all be overshadowed in life by Nicolas Cage. But like Shameik Moore as Miles is fantastic. He really gets into the relatability of the character. The guy playing Peter is great. I know there was that whole thing going around that they were thinking of asking Toby Maguire, but like thought it might be a little confusing and weird for the audience. I don't know how much of that is true, and honestly wouldn't shock me if they really never thought of it. Personally, I can't really see Toby Maguire in this. Now, let me make this clear. It's very much meant to be that the Peter Parker in this, I'm pretty certain, is supposed to be that one. They have a lot of scenes in there that are homages to things in his movies. There's a lot of direct references. You could make the argument, and I personally saw this, I don't know if anyone else did, I personally believe there were a couple nods to the Amazing films in there as well, and Homecoming. Like, just sort of this great celebration of everything that is Spider-Man. But all in all, I do like the guy they went with, as he really did a good job of representing this middle-aged, kind of tired. He's just at the point where he's mostly just seeing regular life shit that's just kind of making it hard on him. That's done well. He's a very relatable Peter Parker. When I saw annoyed schlub Peter Parker, I got a little worried. But they really figure out a way to key in on just that everyday man, realistic Peter that we all want to see and love about the character. So all in all, I think it was the right choice, as I don't necessarily know if Maguire could have brought it down to that level of relatability that, and I know this might anger a few people, I never really felt like he did in his trilogy. But that's a discussion for another day. Gwen is pretty good. I'm pretty certain it's Haley Steinfeld. Liked her quite a bit. She was very fun. The cast is great. All in all, if I were to pick a couple of flaws, there's a thing they do with Miles' dad towards the end that kind of goes nowhere. That really didn't add up to anything. And the other one is, and I know a lot of other people have said this too, I could have done with more of the extra characters, and even Gwen to a certain extent. I felt like she did get a lot of time, but all in all, I felt like she kind of was just the girl one. That's a personal gripe. She still is really well done. But the other three Spider guys who come in, they don't show up till like halfway through the second act. And honestly, they're just sort of there to round about the team and like add to weird stuff. That being said, I love the way they're animated. Like, this CG style they went for really captures the feel of comic book panels. It really does look good once you settle in for it. And also, when those other characters show up and they're animated differently, like one's in anime style, one's in 30s noir, Spider-Ham is like a Looney Tune, they really, like, it really does come together to add for a truly visually gorgeous movie. Like, no joke. In my theater, I was in a line of grown men, and we were all just jaw-dropped by the way this movie looks. It really is a great visual style, and it really does work for the film's advantage of making this film feel completely original. It feels unique. It looks unique. It's such a great celebration of everything we love about Spider-Man, encapsulating what it means to be the everyday man, what it means that all you have to be to really be Spider-Man is just be good, and the spider parts kind of come second. That is so well represented, and it's a dramatic movie. This is not a movie for 5-year-olds. Like, you have such great drama coming from Miles's family, from what's going on with Peter, the aspects of the other Spider characters, and oh my god, Wilson Fisk Kingpin. Oh, Jesus. Vincent D'Onofrio is obviously the standard for Kingpin now, but this is a fantastic take on Kingpin. I didn't even know he was the villain going into this. He completely stole every scene he was in. And all the other little villain cameos are cute too, because the movie, sort of like what Lego Batman did, is it just sort of goes along with just the craziness and the insanity, because it's an animated movie, it didn't cost much, it's low stakes, so everyone involved just went super crazy, super experimental, super interesting, and they made a super amazing film. This really feels like, to me, the definitive Spider-Man movie. Yeah, it doesn't have the Peter Parker origin. Yeah, it's not even really about Peter. But it's really a film about what it means to be Spider-Man and all the different forms that can take, and just celebrating comic book insanity. Like, they do a lot of the crazy stuff you'd want them to do with all this different dimension insanity going on. And it is just a ton of fun, and I just loved every second of it. This, like I said, favorite movie of the year, favorite Spider-Man movie, maybe up there for favorite superhero film in general. It's a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, go watch it now. Don't think it's just for kids. Go 5 or 6 times. Stop Venom from being a smash hit. Please, do us all that favor. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and tell me what other sort of superhero movies you are excited for, and just how much you love this movie, because come on, we all know you did.